Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Strategic Command World War II, World at War. It is September of 1944, we're into the fall of this year. The Soviet Union has been doggedly surviving for 1944. That's about all I can really say about its defensive efforts, is that they have not cracked just yet. The Germans have Moscow in a salient, they are driving on the flanks, they are successfully whittling down the edges, but they haven't really started making a ton of progress on the city itself. Granted, it wouldn't take that much to overwhelm the city if they coordinate things properly. The hope, however, is that Moscow can figure out a way to survive into another winter, and that into 1945 things turn in our favor on other fronts to relieve the pressure on the Soviets. This year has at least been one of keeping the Soviet Union alive a lot longer than I thought we could, and that was in part due to an invasion of France by the Allied powers that was eventually turned back and forced to withdraw back into Spain. Meanwhile, a similar, although less strong but also less well-held, salient has developed around Perm, which is the alternate capital for the Soviets should Moscow fall. In Western Europe, as I said, we've already evacuated France. We've pulled back into a mountain line in Spain, and we're trying to hold there while also shifting some of our troops back to the British Isles for an eventual invasion of Norway and an attempt to liberate Norway. Norway should be safe from a German attack if the USSR falls, because the Germans never declared war on Finland, and so there's no land bridge between Norway and the German state here. We could even potentially declare war on Sweden. No, that would be... Well, could we? We could even declare war on Sweden, and we still wouldn't border the USSR if we were really in a desperate pinch for more money, which might end up happening. Meanwhile, we've also moved a few units into the desert here. We've got some infantry on the way to India, as well as some artillery, which is also on the way to India, to reinforce the situation there, because in China, the Japanese have driven to nearly the border. There's still a fair amount of terrain, probably several turns before they could get into India. But nonetheless, the Japanese are on the verge of taking Chongqing, which is nearly encircled, the capital there, and then that would bring them very close to the border with India. They would have a few units to destroy at Umrichi, which is the alternate capital that has not yet fallen, but that being said, India is not far from being in trouble as well. The one bright spot is the Pacific Theater. Okinawa has fallen, Iwo Jima has fallen, and this last turn we took Davao from the Japanese, so we've liberated the Philippines as well. We've also taken Palu and Peleliu, and we have taken all but Guam of the Marianas Islands. I've got some marine tanks on board, transports ready to go to Agna and liberate that island for the Allies. Wake Island is also allied. Eniwetok is allied. Ronamur and Kwajalein all allied. Majuro has not yet been taken. It's not occupied. Nauru is also not taken yet, and Tarawa and Truk are still Japanese, as well as the Solomon Islands and a coast of New Guinea. But that's the situation as... Oh, by the way, most of the Dutch East Indies minus Brunei have also fallen to the Allied powers, and we are looking now to figure out how to try and take Brunei without too many commitments of troops that would pull away from other higher priorities, but it is the Japanese last oil-producing facility. With that being said, that's going to do it for this turn. We're going to go ahead and hit the end turn button. We'll see what the Axis have in turn for us as we move into the middle of September. The West Force takes attrition damage. Japanese morale suffers due to the loss of Davao. Persia surrenders to the Allied powers, which might actually be a bad thing because now it opens up a road into Western India and into Western India from Russia, which the Germans are overrunning right now. Then again, the fall of the USSR will also do that. So we'll see if the Germans make an immediate drive to get into Tehran or not. They had previously taken Tehran from the Russians, but now that the British moved a garrison unit in there, it has fallen back to the Allies and has been liberated or taken by the Allies. Yep, the Germans move right into Tabriz, and they begin the invasion of Iran proper, which will bring them to the border of India as well. Meanwhile, Japan got 2 new naval forces last turn. Not sure what they are, not sure if they're carriers or anything else. They did have one carrier that I think we detected at Fuzhou last turn that was almost sunk, but not quite. So we'll have to see where they, where their extra strength is and what it's made of. Whether it's like more submarines or whether it's not. No, the Soviet Union hasn't fallen yet, Sean Mack. We've still got Moscow. We've still got Perm. We're trying to hold out as best we can. Japanese bombing of industrial targets in the rear of China there, as well as some tactical bombing of Chinese ground units here to the south of Chongqing. You can see their tactical air force is doing quite a bit of damage on our troops. Quite a few MPPs that are being hurt. An artillery bombardment by the army outside Chongqing as well. German V-weapon attacks on England continue on the southern portion of that island nation. German mechanized troops and infantry continue moving toward the line in Spain. Meanwhile, the corps in front of Chongqing has been destroyed, and they've moved adjacent to Chongqing and driven our army back west of Chongqing, and now they have also destroyed that army, so they're almost on the rail line to Chongqing as well. So China is in dire straits as well now. All right, so another Russian corps is destroyed on the Moscow front. Some German attacks against some partisans in Yugoslavia. German armor is attacking a corps of ours south of Moscow. They've not yet destroyed that corps, but they did just destroy it now. So they can move adjacent to Moscow on 2 different hexes if they so choose. Chengdu falls, so now the rear of Chongqing is cut off. Now, fortunately, capitals do generate their own supply, so I think they'll still be okay for a few more turns, but the writing is on the wall. Chongqing is surrounded. All right, so the Germans have moved adjacent to Moscow now. That shock army we have in Moscow is dug in 6 times, but the Germans have so much artillery and air forces they can probably dig them out without too much trouble. And my Soviet forces have shown no ability to lead any sort of effective counterattacks. So it's possible Moscow could fall next turn. I think the hope is that the German units are not in good enough strength to do it in 1 turn. And if that's true, then we might hang on to the winter, which helps us, but I'm not sure it saves us. Looks like there's rain all throughout Russia that is hurting the German ability to use their air forces this turn in Russia. Meanwhile, the loss of Archangel is impacting Russian morale. I might even cut off Lend-Lease. I'm not 100% sure. Murmansk is still in our hands, so we'll have to take a look at that. All right, so London, Norwich, Portsmouth, all damaged by bombing. The Chinese XL3, I don't know that Roman numeral. What does L stand for? Corps destroyed. 68th Chinese Army destroyed. 10th Soviet Army, 5th Soviet Corps, 7th Soviet Corps all destroyed. 50, okay. So like the 63rd Corps then? I don't even remember. Yep, so that's not good. All of that stuff, not good. The German Navy still appears to be in the northern latitudes. All right, so we've got the Sudan Defense Corps for the British that'll be coming online this turn. The Americans get the 101st Airborne and 3rd Marine Division. The Soviets get 2 corps and a shock army. And the Chinese get another corps. All right, so none of these attacks look like they will favor us at all. Let's swap this AA gun for an army. Pull this AA gun back 1, bring our artillery forward here, so hopefully they can provide some defensive fire, and then shift the 43rd Army forward. The Soviets just have no ability to effectively attack against the Germans here. It's quite frustrating. Despite level 2 weapons, the morale is so low and the readiness. Although these guys have a readiness of 101 and a morale of 91, and they can't attack at all. It might be the artillery support for the Germans. All right, so we can attack against this cavalry corps there and inflict some casualties. And then we just destroyed that cavalry corps successfully. So that's a good result for us. Destroyed a Soviet cavalry corps here, or German cavalry corps here north of Moscow. We haven't been destroying many German units, but we got one there. Meanwhile, I'm going to advance toward Archangel. It'll cut off the Germans here, although it is a supply center. So they will still generate supply there. All right, so this German corps east of Sverdlovsk is vulnerable to attack, so we'll attack it with 2 shock armies and destroy it. So another German casualty on the Russian front. Reinforce this shock army north of Perm. And we'll upgrade these guys to get some anti-aircraft defense, hopefully to help them repel any German attack there. We'll reinforce these guys at Merlovsk, or however you pronounce that. I need to race reinforcements to Tehran now that I've taken it. So we'll race the British 12th Corps in there. I think we'll also send some artillery in there to help. I don't know what the supply situation is like. They've got no headquarters. Not going to be much better. Okay. Let's move the Brazilian headquarters unit to Iran as well. Or not headquarters, but the Brazilian Infantry Corps. 3 to 7, that's not bad. Alright, we'll go 3 to 7. I'll take those casualties for our armor. So we wiped out an enemy mechanized force. I think I'll pull my armor back, probably, to avoid an enemy counterattack hurting me too much. Advance here. Reinforce these guys to full strength. Alright, so we've got 3 British fighters all at full strength in Spain. All level 4 fighters now too, which is nice. This British headquarters is going to pull back to Great Britain. Put it into Southampton. Although most of the troops in England are actually, or in Great Britain, are actually American at the moment. That guy's at Newcastle. Put that American unit up at Edinburgh. I think it'll be an American invasion of Norway, although the British could use the money more. I've got 3 American units, I've got a Ranger unit, and I've got a mechanized and armor unit that probably can take Oslo from the Germans. I imagine we'll move in to Bergen, or we'll probably land at Trondheim, and then drive south from the northern there, using the supply base at Trondheim, and then also the railways to take Oslo. And then maybe one isolated unit will hit Narvik, or maybe Tromsø. I'm not sure. We'll have to fight a naval battle first. Okay, that carrier's upgraded to the max. These fighters need to reinforce and upgrade. Destroyer's already upgraded, so we'll begin gathering our forces here north of Scapa Flow. Probably won't be able to reinforce everybody this turn because I don't want to spend all my money on the British Navy this turn. Okay. I wouldn't even be able to upgrade everybody in this turn if I want to. But we'll begin gathering our destroyers up here. Okay, that American destroyer's already got naval weapons, but it needs ACAC and anti-submarine warfare. We've got a fleet of... I think we've got 2 or 3 Canadian destroyers now. Okay, upgrading that American cruiser. This destroyer will move into the channel where it can get full upgrades. This battleship can get upgraded already, so we'll give it ASW protection. We know the Germans have a lot of that. Carrier here. Alright, so we've begun the process of preparing for the attack. We've begun the process of preparing. That doesn't sound weird at all. Alright, this heavy cruiser can also join that force. Alright, so let's move these guys just north of Scapa into the Shetlands, however you pronounce that. These guys, I think, are already max upgraded 141. So move the carrier up towards Scapa as well. Thanks for the follow, Action Jackson. Also, just another guy, Med Harry. Or just another guy named Harry, sorry. Thanks for the follow as well. All right, so Churchill's dream of invading Norway may come to pass. We'll bring this battleship up from Farrell. Can it get to a port where it can rest and refit? I don't see an empty port it can get to that it can actually do anything with. Maybe some upgrades there, but I don't think so. All right, so we'll bring that battleship there. And I'm going to pull this British tactical air back to the United Kingdom as well now that we put this headquarters unit here. Where does Scapa flow? Into the North Sea, of course, right? Alright, we're going to move this cruiser unit out of the Med. Hopefully it doesn't attract subs. Do we have anything else? We do have this American heavy tank unit, so we'll go ahead and transfer it. Can't quite reach there in one turn. We'll move it in the middle of the ocean and pray like hell the German subs don't find it. I guess we can also send this destroyer with it, although it doesn't have very good ASW protection with it. It's a doesn't have any ratings for it. Okay. All right. Move those guys slightly further north up the Italian boot. A second liberation of southern Italy by the Allied forces. Where, actually, we've got the new Sudan Defense Force. Where does that deploy? Does it deploy in Sudan? It does. So I think we'll actually send those guys to Iran as well. And so we'll get their headquarter unit. Or maybe to the Pacific. I think we already have... Wait, that's South Africa, not Sudan. I don't know where my South African forces are. I don't even know if I have any. Well, we've got one in Corsica. Alright, we'll pull these guys back to Great Britain as well. Well, they already surrendered. The Italians surrendered to the Allies earlier in the war, so now they are on the Allied side, at least according to the diplomacy. Okay, they did switch sides in the war, so that's not... Oh, so this is an anti-tank unit? I thought it was anti-air. It is anti-tank. That is interesting. I didn't even know I had that. Huh. Shows I'm paying attention. Okay, so that's probably it for France. We already did Russia, as little as it can do. We're trying to reinforce Iran. We'll get some UK cores there. We really need a headquarter unit there, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Upgrade this garrison in Tunisia. Okay, so keeping an eye on the Adriatic ports with this British sub. No indication that the German fleet is being rebuilt in Italy. which is good for any potential re-attack in North Africa. Meanwhile, we'll move this guy to Penang, and then we'll transport him to India. We'll bring these troops into Kunming. These Indian troops into Kunming. I think they're Indian, yeah. Yeah, they are. This British, or this Australian corps, I think, will move into Burma. This Special Forces unit will move... I guess we'll move it north through the pass as well and into China behind Slim's Indian Corps. Okay, so we'll move this headquarters out of Singapore and move it to Iran to support the corps there. Cebu falls, so the Philippines is basically completely ours. I don't want to pay for mobility there. Why can't anybody... Why is the supply so bad here? Alright. Okay, so that probably does it for the Philippines for the moment. We can upgrade the battleship's naval weaponry and air defense, which might be important in the eventual drive on Japan. Maddie Hind, thanks for the follow. Vectrin79, thank you for the follow. All right, so let's find... They're not here. I found an enemy carrier, or at least one of them. If it's the same one, though... Oh, no, there's two! Now I can't attack. God damn it. So the enemy now has 2 aircraft carriers on the Chinese coast. So we know at least one of their new units is an air unit. Okay. Can reinforce these American warships. Meanwhile, we can land on Guam. Oh, shit. I didn't realize there was a Japanese force on Guam. We're going to have to bomb it, and hopefully we'll get lucky, because I don't have the... I haven't done the preparatory work to wear them down. I didn't think they were actually there. And the bombing is doing nothing. Do you have any battleships that can lend their guns? So we at least damage their supply, I think. With that last bombardment. Or I'm not sure why it's exploding. Maybe we're just damaging the port. Okay. Alright, this air wing's at full strength also, so we'll go ahead and hit them. Again, it's so ineffective, but it does kind of slowly wear them down a little bit. In our attack on Davao, eventually it actually ended up hurting them enough for us to take the island, but doesn't appear to be the case. Alright, so we're going to do an amphibious attack here against them with our level 5 amphibious forces. Then we'll land our armor, and then we should be able to finish them off, and we do. We don't take the base yet, but we'll take that next turn. So Guam has now, or will be liberated. And with that, I think then we'll start moving forward. I think I had one more unit I just landed in the west coast. I did. So we'll transport these mechanized units across the Pacific here. We'll bring those forces into Tinian, probably. And then we'll begin loading up. We'll have 1 mechanized force, 2 armored units, 1 army, and then 3 special forces units. So 1, 2, 3. Wait, 1, 2, 3. 4 army units, 1 mechanized unit, and 2 armored units to invade Japan. That is the plan. All right, we'll reinforce that guy. Does Kregador have a port, or is it just a fort? Haha, rhymed. These guys are going to die. The West Force Corps. Okay. All right. So the only other national morale objectives for Japan that I might be tempted to take are Truk and Tarawa. If we take a look at their national morale following that last battle, or last turn where we took Davao, the Japanese have D Guns. Thank you very much for the follow. I don't know why I didn't get a note. Oh, there it is. All right, so if we take a look at the... Jesus, look at their income just skyrocketing over 1,200. The Germans are going to be borderline impossible to stop. But if we take a look at national morale of Japan, it fell another 4% to 46. The supply in Guam, I'm hoping, will help keep the sea lanes supplied. I'm hoping it will sort of chain link between all of these bases. Maybe that would make taking Truk worthwhile, but it feels like a distraction. We could do it, though. Next turn. Be another national morale blow to him. Sean Mack, I need to upgrade those carriers, too. I don't know that they're the best. Reflection of their true capabilities. In any event, I should probably bring a paratrooper unit into the Pacific as well. So I'll throw the 101st into San Francisco, and then the 3rd Marine into Los Angeles. So I'm going to bring these guys for the invasion as well. I don't see an urgent need for more American forces in Europe, although we may have an urgent need for forces in India if Iran falls. Also, losing all of these oil wells in southern Iran would be a bad result. Yeah. Okay. So we're probably 2 or 3 turns away from the invasion of Japan. More than 2. We're probably 3 or 4 turns away from the invasion of Japan. Probably early 1945. Let's not forget about China, though. Let's reinforce here. Oh, come on. I don't have enough money to reinforce them totally. Alright, so we reinforce that pocket around Chongqing. We also have a new corps, which we could deploy here, but they would just really quickly die if I deploy them in the Chongqing pocket. So I'd rather deploy them maybe toward Umrichi as a guard on China falling. Meanwhile, the USSR has several new units that I need to deploy. Let's see here. The most likely place I can attack is near Perm, so I will give the shock armies there, and then the corps of infantry, I think, will focus in near the Moscow region. So 2 new corps in the Moscow region, and 1 new army near Perm. Ramgar, thank you very much for the bits. And Dow 300 WSM, thank you for the follow. Eris, good to see you over there. What does the Axis have to do to force a Russian surrender? They have to take Moscow, then they have to take Kuybyshev, which if they've already taken, that's an alternate capital. And then they have to take Perm, which is another alternate capital. Additionally, I think if Soviet morale falls low enough, it can trigger a surrender anyway, but that's very hard to do. So it's likely they will take all three. If you have enough units that survive the fall of your capitals, you still can continue fighting, but I don't think you can buy any new units. But it's you have a percentage chance of surrendering every turn after your capital falls based on, I don't know, whatever your number of unit. There's like a percentage based on how many troops you have left. Which also means that even if we take Japan, it's possible the Japanese won't surrender. But I did have someone say in their game, once you invaded Japan proper, the Japanese can basically move back to the coast of China and start trying to head back to Japan rather than continuing the drive in China. Maybe a moot point by the time we get there, though. All right, so Russia has 500. We can use that to buy some stuff. I've already bought the maximum number of shock armies by the look of it. I can go with paratroopers. Special forces don't seem to be as good for them as they are for, like, the Americans. Maybe that's not true. 6544444. 6544. Okay, so they're the same. It just doesn't seem as useful. Maybe the Germans are just better against them. I don't even know what good the mechanized forces are. They don't seem to do much. But we'll buy one. All right, so we bought 2 new infantry corps and a mechanized unit. You can see there we've got 3 corps coming by the end of the year and then also mechanized at the beginning of next year. Again, the hope is that we can hold out for winter, but who knows? We could, theoretically, if they mount their attacks properly, they could take Moscow this turn. Perm is also doable, although I don't think they've got the logistical support around it to make it happen. Meanwhile, the Americans have 378 left in terms of money this turn. Is there anything we really want to dump money into? Probably industrial technology, because that's... We still had one more chit we can go there. We've researched everything else on this side of the map, or have the last chit we need into it. Anti-air defense is working on 5. Anti-submarine is at 2. We could put another one into it, but I'm not quite sure that's the most pressing need. Ground attack weapons, we're working on the final level there. Advanced subs are way behind, but we don't have any subs anyway, so that doesn't matter as much. Long-range aircraft might be useful. Heavy bombers maybe eventually. I don't really see a reason to invest in any of the other remaining technologies for the Americans. And everybody else spent their money. So for the Americans, we've got 205 left. What do we want to make? We could raise an army. We could raise a corps. We could raise more paratroopers. I'm going to go with paratroopers. I'll upgrade them after buying them. We'll go with the 82nd Airborne this time. So we've got... Americans are working on paratroopers. Those will arrive in February. We've got another Special Forces unit arriving in January, and we've also got an army coming in December. So we've got several American units coming. If we pull out units out of Russia and Russia falls, those units go away. So if a country surrenders, you lose all the units in it. All of its national units. I might be able to paratroop troops into the Soviet Union. I don't think they'd have good supply, though. They wouldn't have any local headquarters to track, and the German Navy is sitting up here and is pretty damn strong. That's why I'm massing my fleet north of Great Britain and plan to bring the rest of this fleet up that way to crush them. But I don't think that's a short-term realistic possibility. So I think that's going to do it for this turn. I really think I made a mistake going to Tehran. The Germans were not advancing there. Now they are. In any event, we'll see how it plays out. Maybe it'll pull a few more German units away from the Soviets. Let's go ahead and end this turn and see what happens as we move into November. But before we move into November, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. I hope you enjoyed it. Episode number 60 of our Let's Play series of Strategic Command World War II, World at War. This was live streamed over on my Twitch channel, so go on over there if you want to check these out in the future. I appreciate you guys for tuning in for yet another episode. As always, leave your thoughts down below. What are your thoughts? What should we do? Although I think the next 3 episodes are already recorded from that same live stream, so we've got a little bit more to go and some excitement to see before I can really act on any of your advice. Nonetheless, I want to hear it. I want to hear what your thoughts. Tell me how bad I'm doing, all those kind of things. Until next time, though, this is the Historical Gamer, as always, saying once again, thank you for watching, and until next time. I always like to repeat myself a ton in this ending, this outro. That's, I guess, my shtick. But until next time, I'm out.